Larian Studios and Baldur's Gate 3 had an incredible year this year, which I'll be recapping in this video. 2024 was the year of Baldur's Gate 3. It came out in 2023 and it was the game of the year, but it also could have very well been the game of the year this year with everything that they released, from new mods being available on console and PC to also announcing 12 new subclasses coming in the new year, as well as dominating the sales charts for another year. So we got a lot of things to talk about in this video, and I just want to highlight some of the huge wins that they had over the year. First things first though, on Steam right now, if you look at the chart overview, Baldur's Gate 3 is in a top 5 most selling games right now. That is actually crazy considering this game came out in August of 2023 for on PC. This is crazy. Path of Exile 2 obviously very popular with it just releasing out of early access. Marvel Rivals came out a month ago. It's still extremely popular, obviously. Helldivers 2, pretty cool to see this resurging here. Counter-Strike 2, obviously, this is Steam. It's going to be one of the top games here. And Baldur's Gate 3 in the top selling games. That's actually quite crazy. But if we also look into some of the other numbers, the most played games right now, Baldur's Gate 3 is in the top 12. And if we look at some of these other games, they're all live service games. So Counter-Strike, Dota, Path of Exile 2, kind of an early access, obviously, but it's also a multiplayer heavy game. Marvel Rivals, PUBG, Rust, Grand Theft Auto 5 held alive by their online role-playing. Team Fortress 2, very surprising to see there. Pal World, a multiplayer game, but also very popular that came out this year. Banana, I wouldn't even count this game. It's kind of an idle game. Call of Duty, obviously, and then Baldur's Gate 3. This is actually crazy to see because out of all these games, Baldur's Gate 3 is the only single-player game that's really on here. We can ignore Grand Theft Auto 5 because that's really old and still an anomaly that it's alive to this day. But it's beating out Helldivers 2 currently, and a bunch of other games that you would think would be more popular than Baldur's Gate. But yeah, another one here that I think is crazy is Stardew Valley, but that game has had a crazy amount of updates. But Baldur's Gate 3 on sale and one of the top games of right now, but also over the year too. It is one of the top played games, which is really nice to see. If we also look at the top selling games, the Steam Deck doesn't really count. So it is, again, in the top 5 there, with many of these games being live service games that are multiplayer heavy. So again, Baldur's Gate 3 and Elden Ring. Elden Ring is just Elden Ring though. These two games are top of their class and probably the best 2 games that we've gotten in the last 10 years. Barring things like The Witcher 3, which came out 9 years ago, these two are definitely top of their genres, respectively, and 2 of the best games of all time, I would say. But you can also see it's also beating out Call of Duty Black Ops 6, which just came out this year recently, and it's on sale, an even deeper sale than Baldur's Gate 3 is on for. So this is actually pretty wild to see. Baldur's Gate 3 beat that out, and many other games, even like Cyberpunk, Warhammer 40k, Space Marine 2. Yeah, it rised above all others and it is in the top selling games currently. But even over the year, it's also one of the top selling games. If we look at by weekly, it's still top 8 there, with again all the other games that are in here. It's besides Elden Ring, which is 40% off with a major DLC that released this year. That's the reason that that is there. But in addition, if we look at the best of 2023, the platinum games here, some of their highest selling games, Cyberpunk had the DLC drop last year. Baldur's Gate 3 obviously was one of the best selling games of last year. But if we look into their platinum list for 2024 on Steam, we go through Elden Ring, again, DLC that released, Black Myth Wukong, major release of this year, and Baldur's Gate 3 is literally in the top 6 right here. With things like Pal World, Space Marine, Black Ops 6 also being games that released this year. Everything else here, it's crazy to see Baldur's Gate 3 being just as successful, if not more successful this year. In addition, Baldur's Gate 3's publishing director Michael Dose actually shared that the active users are up 20% from 2023, which just shows that Baldur's Gate 3 is timeless. This game is going to be one that people will be playing 10 years from now. I guarantee that. This is the generation's Skyrim, I would say. Skyrim is still a game that's very popular to this day, largely due to the modding, and Baldur's Gate 3 announced that this year, and that's one of the things that I was be focusing on in this video because they've done so much with the modding community and many more things to come. But if we look at that as well, Baldur's Gate 3 sales estimated around 15 million copies. This data, it says November 25th for this article here, but I actually seen this data in March of 2024. So it's hard to say how many sales they've made, but they've made $1 billion with the sales of this game overall. So that's another huge accomplishment. Larian will be rolling in it for their next game, and I'm extremely excited for that. But we've gotten two huge things this year. Patch 7 releasing in Baldur's Gate 3, which brought on it many great things, like the ability to just download mods right through the game itself. So like this hairstyle that my character is rocking, the colorful eyes that I have, and many of the other things you see are now available to be able to download from the game itself, from the main menu, which is actually crazy because there's not too many games that do that. And if they do, it's kind of half-baked. Like if you play Skyrim on PlayStation 5, you'll notice that you can only download a few mods. Like there's not too many because PlayStation typically doesn't allow external assets. However, Baldur's Gate 3, they've been testing and approving mods for console. Larian Studios has been, so that Xbox and PlayStation can both get the same mods. This is huge because prior to the launch, I had a lot of people comment on my videos being upset because they said Baldur's Gate 3 is not going to get any mods on PlayStation. But here we are a few months later, and they've gotten all the same ones that Xbox has, and many of the PC exclusive mods are making their way over to console as well. So a lot of good things coming for console, and I just want to highlight that because this was a comment I got a lot during the year. But Larian went above and beyond and allowed external assets, and they've tested and approved all these mods. In with patch 7, which released in September and in October for console players, they also added a bunch of new endings to the game, which was a total blast. There's 14 new endings with different cinematics, cutscenes, and very epic moments that never before seen because they were just now added to the game. There's also some temporary changes, like you can now get Alfira the Bard as a temporary companion. And yes, you can also make her permanent using like an exploit where you actually take out your Dark Urge the night that she joins the camp. You do have to jump through some hoops. I may do a video on that in the future. They also added a new legendary mode, honor mode legendary actions for your honor mode playthroughs. You can even do an honor mode playthrough and continue on after without having the save deleted if you wanted to go for the ultimate challenge. This is really cool because honor mode adds a whole bunch of new things to the game that just makes it more challenging, but again, the challenge is fun. And they added the in-game mod manager, which is huge, obviously, because no real game has ever done it to this extent before on both console and PC. And there's like 3,000 or 4,000 mods now on PC and 250 or 260 mods on consoles. So many more being added every day. There is a lot of fluff ones, but consoles actually gotten some of the best mods in my opinion. So there's a lot of great things there. They also released the Baldur's Gate 3 toolkit, which allows you to create your own mods. And shortly thereafter, it was released, it was cracked. So people are now making custom campaigns and new maps using this, which is pretty interesting to see. But I've even used the toolkit itself, and it's I'm not an expert, but it's pretty good for what it is. I've been able to create new spell mods, and I thought that that was pretty cool to mess around with. But yeah, they've released that. You can get it if you currently own it on PC. You just go to your DLC and you can download it. So if you want to try your hand at modding or just get started with it, you can check it out. They have a lot of guides on Mod.io, made by Padme4000, one of the top modders on Baldur's Gate 3. But yeah, there's a bunch of different guides and stuff on how to get started. I have videos on it as well. They add a bunch of different things to the UI. Like this is a endless list of changes that they brought with the last patch. Like I did a video talking through every single change here, and it was a 51-minute long video. I covered every single point on here. It's still going. It's still going. I'll speed it up. Yeah, that's a lot of changes. And we also got ourselves an update, community update 30 here from in the end of November, which is talking about patch 8, which surprisingly, they dropped 12 new subclasses. Crossplay is coming, so that if you're on PC, you can now play with your friends on Xbox and PlayStation 5. And then again, those 12 new subclasses, mind-blowing, because no one knew this was coming. Larian's just like, you know what? Here you go. Here's 12 new subclasses. This literally is like just such a treat from a developer to be able to do something like this. And yeah, we owe it to Larian. They've done so much with this game, and many more things still coming. They also have a photo mode coming here, which lets you really fine-tune and take pictures that are posed but cool. And with that, we also have ourselves this little thing here I want to touch on. So this is not yet the end for our mod tools. With the continued support of mod authors and the community testing our new features, we have big updates still to come, including adding more functionality to let you tell your own stories. I don't know what this means. It's got me excited though. I'm just thinking that maybe we'll be able to make some quest mods. Maybe we'll be able to make new campaign mods. Who knows? The future is in front of us here, and we'll just have to see what patch 8 brings. But just want to recap 2024. It's been an extremely successful year for Baldur's Gate 3. The fans of Baldur's Gate 3 have been eating good. and Larian Studios has cemented themselves as one of the best developers of all time. They also have released a Christmas little advent calendar, and they've talked about their next game coming. So I'm curious to see what more information will come around that. I can't wait for it personally, and I know you guys are too. So yeah, just wanted to cap off a great year in 2024 has been. I also want to thank everyone that's ever watched any of my videos and shown support. It really does mean the world to me. I've been able to grow my channel this much this year, just not alone Baldur's Gate 3 content, but a large component of it has been around this game. So I just want to thank everyone that's checked all my content out. I'm doing daily build guides pretty much for most of the year now, and it's just really nice to see all the support. This is the best community in gaming. And yeah, just want to highlight all this. Thank you so much for watching. Hit the subscribe button below if you haven't already, and I'll see you all in the next video.